For when people ask, I want a word that means okay and not okay. More than that, a word that means devastated and stunned with joy. I want the word that says, I feel it all at once. The heart is not like a songbird, singing only one note at a time. More like a Tuvan throat singer, able to sing both a drone and simultaneously 2 or 3 harmonics high above it, a sound the Tuvans say that gives the impression of the wind swirling among rocks. Or the heart understands swirl. How the churning of opposite feelings weaves through us like an insistent breeze, leads us wordlessly deeper back into ourselves and blesses us with paradox, so that we might walk more openly into this world so rife with devastation, this world so ripe with joy. Before Finn died, I already had a practice, a daily writing practice, since he was 2 years old. So since 2006, I've been writing a poem every day. The gift of that is that it becomes less about writing a poem and more of a practice of how do you meet the world. I think because I had a daily practice of showing up at that point for already, 15 years, when he died, I was able to have in me this longing to be open and meet it, even though it was the most painful thing I've ever had happen. I didn't shut down. What I think I know now that I didn't know then, before, was just how many ways there are to show up for grief and how every one of us will do it in our own way. And that every one of us will do it so differently even from moment to moment. And how right that is for there to be so many flavors of grief, so many ways to meet it. And another thing is that I don't think that I knew. I didn't know how loss could be beautiful, how there was, like a cello playing in a minor key, and you hear it and it hurts and you can feel the ache of it, and also you're so drawn into the beauty of it, and I believe that that is because of love. To be human is to feel. To be human is to feel and to meet this incredibly diverse spectrum of possible feelings. And when we allow ourselves then to be open to this full spectrum, they have a chance to kind of duke it out and wrestle inside of us. And the result is this kind of spaciousness that comes. And that spaciousness, I don't know anything that beautiful. What do joy and grief have in common is this ability to evoke feeling that pushes us and opens us and helps us to be compassionate and helps us fall in love. Simple tools. I am so grateful for the rubber spatula. The way it sits quietly in the drawer, yet is always ready for action. Is game to scrape the walls of the blender or to fold chocolate chips into the dough. It evens and swirls the frosting on cake and welcomes the tongue of a child. In a sharp world, it knows the value of being blunt. it knows that to smooth is a gift to the world. Some people are knives, and I thank them. Me, I want to belong to the order of spatulas. Those who blend, who mix, who co-mingle dissimilars into a cohesive whole. I want to spread sweetness, to be a workhorse for beauty, to stir things up, to clean things out. I want to be useful, an instrument of unity, a means, a lever for life. I told her I could write a poem about anything, and she's like, anything? You couldn't write a poem about a rubber spatula. And I said, oh yeah? And then so that was why I wrote it. I had a dreamy moment that I think every poet dreams of when I got a phone call, and Stephen Nightingale said, Elizabeth and I have been talking about doing another book. We'd love to do your next book of poems, which was just thrilling. I had been going through a period of great grief. At that point, it had been less than a year after my son chose to take his life. And so I was writing at that time quite a bit of poetry about loss. And I didn't feel ready to do that, a book about that. I felt like I didn't have enough perspective. I had a lot of poems already about falling in love with the world and joy, and it felt a little disingenuous to have that without including what was most on the table at this point. So I said, I don't know what to do. And they said, what if you did both? So then what happened was, after a couple of weeks, and I always feel a little strange saying this because this isn't how it normally has gone in my life, but I had a vision. I guess I just don't want to pretend that I didn't, because this is what happened. And my father, who died just a few months after my son, and my son had come into my bedroom, and they had carved into the bedroom walls in all caps, "We love you, all the honey." And I saw that and thought, oh my God, they gave me the title. I knew right away, this is the title for the book, but I had no idea what is that supposed to mean. And as I thought about it, thought how all the honey that has ever been made came from the sweetness of the nectar that's in the honeycomb and the bitterness of the pollen that feeds the worker bees. And so then it became clear to me, of course it has to be both. Of course this book has to contain both the absolute loss and the devastation and what makes us fall in love with the world, because that's what it is to be alive. Untamed. We measure the afternoon in wild raspberries, pulling to our mouths the abundant ripe fruits like the feral beings we are. Fingers stained red and lips stained red, and the moments stained red with joy. If it is not smart to speak of love, then let me not be smart. Let me speak of love that flourishes like wild raspberries in a rainy summer. Let me live into love, as undomesticated as these brambles that line the creeks. Let me remember today by the sweet and tart taste of wild berries, how softly they fell into our palms. Let me be as eager for love as the look on my daughter's face when she dragged me by the hand back to the raspberry patch, saying,